A night for heroes or a stage for betrayal? London was soaked in tension. Not rain, not wind. Tension. The kind you feel in your bones. Stamford Bridge, bathed in blue, pulsed with restless energy. It wasn't just another Champions League night. This was the reckoning. Chelsea stood tall, shoulders heavy with the ghosts of Moscow 2008. That bitter penalty loss to Manchester United, it still lived in their veins. This wasn't just a semi-final. It was revenge wrapped in redemption. It was unfinished business. The crowd roared as Didier Drogba took the pitch like a gladiator returning to the arena. Frank Lampard, the general. Michael Essien, the enforcer. Around them, a wall of belief, fueled by agony and ambition. They weren't just playing for a final, they were fighting for justice. Across the pitch stood Barcelona, young, elegant, and dangerously calm. Pep Guardiola, in his debut season, looked more philosopher than manager. But beneath the surface of that calm, his team was a weapon. They didn't fight, they danced. Their passes hypnotized, their style seduced. They called it tiki-taka, but Chelsea didn't come to be seduced. Then, boom! Essien, out of nowhere, unleashes a volley from the heavens. The ball rockets off his foot, smashes the underside of the bar, and crashes into the net. Stamford Bridge erupts. Chaos, relief, glory. A goal not just against Barcelona, but against fate itself. Chelsea leads. The dream is alive. But something starts to shift. Slowly, subtly, like a shadow creeping in through the back door. A handball in the box ignored. An obvious foul waved away. Another blocked shot by an arm. No whistle. And there, in the middle of the storm, stood a man who would become infamous. Tom Henning Øvrebø, a Norwegian referee, unknown to most, soft-spoken, unassuming. But tonight, every blink, every breath, every non-call he made turned the air colder. Chelsea players began to snap, first with confusion, then with rage. Fans screamed at their televisions. Commentators stumbled over their words. It wasn't just one incident, it was four. 4 penalties not given. 4 moments frozen in fury. 4 pleas for justice, buried in silence. Ballack lost it. Drogba burned holes into the ref with his stare. The atmosphere turned venomous. Yet the whistle blew, only when Øvrebø wanted it to. Behind the bench, a suited UEFA official whispered into an earpiece, nodded, calmly, like a man watching a plan unfold. As the 4th penalty is denied, Ballack chases Øvrebø halfway down the pitch, screaming in disbelief. The camera cuts to the stands, a slow zoom on a figure in a dark coat. He smirks. The scoreboard shows 1-0, but the feeling in the air? This match is not in Chelsea's control anymore. The outcome feels pre-written. The clock was ticking, not just on the match, but on something far bigger. Stamford Bridge wasn't a football ground anymore. It had turned into a courtroom, a theater of injustice. And Tom Henning Øvrebø, no longer just a referee, but the silent hand delivering a verdict the world didn't understand. Chelsea had Barcelona in a chokehold. The Catalans, normally graceful and composed, looked ragged, desperate, suffocated by a blue tidal wave. Drogba bullied defenders. Lampard controlled time. Ballack prowled like a lion that hadn't eaten in days. This wasn't just dominance, it was total control. But with every passing minute, decisions began to vanish. Another handball in the box, as this one by Gerard Piqué. Arm stretched unnaturally wide. No call, a shirt pull, nothing. An obvious takedown, play on, a clear body check, ignored. The 4th denial broke something. In the players, in the fans, in football itself. Øvrebø's eyes were vacant, like a man following orders in a language only he understood. Every whistle he didn't blow felt choreographed, deliberate, surgical. And then, the dagger. The 93rd minute. The final twist of the knife. A half clearance lands at the feet of Andres Iniesta, the quiet one, the poet in a team of magicians. He doesn't hesitate. One swing of the right foot and time stops. The ball flies into the top corner. Silence. Not joy. Not despair. Just silence. Because that goal didn't feel like fate. It felt like execution. Chelsea players drop to the ground as if they'd been shot. Essien collapses. Lampard can't breathe. Drogba stands frozen, mouth open, eyes wide, staring at a scoreboard that now felt like a death sentence. And then, all hell breaks loose. Drogba storms the sideline, held back by teammates, screaming into the camera, "It's a effing disgrace!" Ballack chases Øvrebø like a man possessed, finger jabbing, voice cracking. The fans riot with their eyes, their hearts, their disbelief. But Øvrebø doesn't flinch. He walks off the pitch as if nothing happened, as if he's just filed the last page of a report. Barcelona celebrates, but even their faces show confusion. Relief? Guilt? And behind it all, the whispers begin. Was this incompetence or orchestration? Why Overbu? Why now? Why them? Journalists uncover a pattern. UEFA's dream scenario had always been a Messi versus Ronaldo final. Spain versus England. Fantasy versus fury. Millions in advertising. A global spectacle. And Chelsea? They were never in that script. Overbu disappears from Champions League duty. No real punishment. No apology. Just silence. The kind that only surrounds secrets too dangerous to name. Years later, in a dimly lit studio in Oslo, a gray-haired Overbu gives a rare interview. The journalist leans in. Did you make mistakes that night? Overbu smiles. He doesn't answer immediately, then says, there were things I saw and things I was told not to see. Cut to black. They say time heals all wounds, but some wounds never close. They just get quieter. In the weeks after Stamford Bridge exploded into chaos, the football world tried to move on. UEFA crowned Barcelona's comeback as legendary. The final, Messi versus Ronaldo in Rome, became a Hollywood spectacle. Newspapers printed glory. Broadcasters sold beauty. The narrative had been set, but in the shadows of Chelsea's dressing room, nothing made sense. Drogba, once a warrior, was hollowed out. Lampard, always the statesman, grew quiet in post-match interviews. And Ballack, the man who chased justice down the pitch, he never truly trusted the game again. Chelsea wasn't just eliminated, they were erased. The footage of that night played like a horror film for the Stamford Bridge faithful. The pleas, the gestures, the disbelief. And in every replay, one question echoed louder. How could this happen? Yet UEFA stayed silent. Overbu wasn't demoted. There was no investigation, no admission, just a global shrug. But something began to stir, not in the corridors of power, but in the hearts of the betrayed. Fans called it a robbery. Pundits dared to whisper the word corruption. Some said it was a setup for the dream final. Others believed it was bigger, that Chelsea, then led by a Russian oligarch, didn't fit UEFA's polished image of football nobility. Too physical, too angry, too inconvenient. Still, UEFA pushed forward with a smile. The machine rolled on. Barcelona lifted the trophy. History books were rewritten, but the damage had been done. Something inside football had broken. And so, behind closed doors, the sports elite met in secret meetings. Debates turned into demands. Demands turned into revolution. Out of the ashes of that disgrace, one idea rose. Fans who once begged for justice now argued that football's soul was dying in slow motion, that something raw and human was being replaced with sterile precision. In the end, the tragedy at Stamford Bridge did change football, but not without cost. In 2023, a whistleblower leaks internal UEFA documents from 2009. One memo written just days before the semi-final contains a chilling line. The ideal outcome: secure a Spanish versus English final for maximum global impact. The document is real, verified, but by then it's too late. Overbu has retired. UEFA offers no comment. The game has moved on. And Chelsea? They still carry the scar. Because for them, and millions watching that night, it wasn't just a bad call, it was a betrayal, a rigged dream, a beautiful lie. On that night, football didn't just lose a game, it lost its innocence. Justice was silenced, trust was broken, and a beautiful sport showed its darkest face. Some call it destiny, some call it disgrace. But for those who lived it, for those who still feel that sting, the truth is simple. Football forgot its soul at Stamford Bridge, and the echoes of that betrayal still haunt the game today. If you enjoyed this deep dive into one of football's most controversial nights, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell icon so you never miss a story. See you next time, where football's forgotten truths come back to life.